guys, this is Jackie from Jack Gets Lost on a Book Hole, and I thought I would do another book tag. And this book tag is the Greatest Showman book tag, which I've already done the Greatest Showman book tag. Not this one, but I did another one where mostly the questions focused on the songs. And this one, it does the same thing, but the questions are a little different. So, I think. Yeah, because I said the Greatest Showman book tag number 2 up here. Okay, so, The Greatest Showman Prologue. A book that had such an amazing potential, but flopped at the end. Which I didn't realize that, I don't know how this question, because I don't think The Greatest Showman flopped. But maybe this person was disappointed by the ending of it. Oh. Dang it. Okay. And that is Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Wings and Ruin, or also known as Akavor. The book was I really enjoyed this book, but I was kind of disappointed towards the end, towards the climax. I feel like we were kind of cheated, and it was very Disney-fied, where everything worked out all happy in the end, and everything was perfect. Like, there's this whole big epic war and battle scene, and everything in the end still had a Disney-fied and fairy tale-like ending where everything worked out, the good guys win, there's no casualties. I mean, there were casualties, and there was one character that was connected to the major characters, but that character that died, but that character was, like, only in the first part of the first book. And yeah, maybe he's mentioned a few times. But it's like, it wasn't that impactful of a death. I mean, I felt sorry for the characters who this character was connected to for like a second, but the death wasn't impactful enough. And like I said, it was a very Disney-fied ending, and that's all I gotta say. You know, the book was good and had a lot of potential, but this series was one of the few times when the second book was the best one so far. Of course, some people still think Akatar, A Court of Thorns and Roses, was pretty good too, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was good enough for a starter book. Like, start for the series anyway. A starter book for the series. So, I was kind of disappointed. This is the exclusive Books A Million edition, so it has, like, these pictures and stuff. And this picture is in the coloring book. So, I'm going to have to copy off of this one. Okay, so next. Okay, so the next question. A Million Dreams. I'm not singing, by the way, I'm not going to attempt to sing these songs like I did last time, because I can't sing. I have trouble getting the melody and stuff. A book that is set in a really well thought out, beautiful setting. And I would say Harry Potter, but again, just like the last book tag I did, I feel like that would be a cop-out answer. So I picked A Throne of Glass series. Like, Sarah J. Maas is so good at creating worlds. I mean, yeah, she has her flaws as a writer, but the world building is amazing in her books. And in this one in particular, you know, it's so, like, vivid, and you can really picture and get lost in these worlds. In this world and the other world that she created in Akatar series. So, I would say, a book that a really well thought out setting is this one. Throne of Glass series. So, it's kind of hard for me not to talk about Sarah J. Maas in these book tags. Okay, so, A Million Dreams reprised. Which that is such a cute little moment because his daughters are singing it. So it's so cute. A short but adorable book. And I said the same answer as the person who I first discovered this book tag from. I think that was Abby from, I can't remember her channel name. I'm drawing a blank here. But I do believe her name is Abby. but I'm going to say the same answer she gave, which is Belle's Library. This is something that, what is her name? Linda Wolverton wrote. Oh no, actually she didn't write this. Actually, she does a foreword. But she's the one who wrote the original screenplay for the animated movie, and I'm guessing she was probably involved in the live action one as well. But this is actually written by Brittany Bano. But this was written after the live action movie was introduced and came out in theaters. And this is basically Belle's diary, where she writes all these quotes or thoughts that come into her mind, and she, talks about. It's like a diary, and she puts in quotes from some of the famous texts she just loves to read. It's her literary journal, and kind of compares. And like any person who's keeping a diary, she draws attention to comparing to her real life situation and what's going on, which is basically what's going on in the context of the storyline. And it's really cute. And as you can see, I've read some of it. It comes with a little bookmark, and there's also cute little pictures in here, and it's so cute. Let's see, how far am I? And the quotes are I feel like the quotes are very inspiring. It's really cute. Definitely, if you are a fan of Beauty and the Beast, I definitely recommend adding this to your collection of Beauty and the Beast memorabilia. Okay, so the next question, question number 4 is Come Alive. A book that you might have heard bad reviews, but loved yourself. I don't have this book anymore because I donated it, and that is, actually it's a series, and that is The Castor Chronicles by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. This is a Southern witch story, or they call themselves casters, but this young girl, Lena, who, the women in her family will either be chosen for the dark or the light, witches that practice black magic or witches that practice light magic, and Lena meets this boy. It's told from the boy's perspective, Ethan Waite, and the two of them meet and fall in love, and then they learn that not only is Lena's fate not in her own hands, but she is cursed because her ancestor Genevieve fell in love with Ethan's ancestor, who he's named after, and it was during the Civil War, so he ended up dying, and Genevieve uses a forbidden spell to bring him back. So now, in the present, her family is cursed because she will automatically be chosen for the dark by her 16th birthday, which is what the first book is about. And her mother is, who has become mortal, is constantly haunting her and won't leave her alone and tries to persuade her to join the dark side already, and, is reminding her of the curse. And Lena's remaining family is trying to keep her away from Ethan because, they don't want her to go all dark side and evil, which is understandable. But Ethan is when Ethan finds out about this curse, he's trying to fight for it, and he believes that they are meant to be together, and they shouldn't let this curse dictate their lives. And that is the best summary I've ever given, I think. I'm so bad at giving summaries normally, so hopefully I think that was one of my best ones, and that's not saying much. But, I know a lot of people say that the books just got worse, but I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I know a lot of people, of course, classify Lena as one of those whiny protagonist characters, because she's kind of protagonist of the story too. It's just told from Ethan's perspective, mostly. And, except for, I think in Beautiful, one of the third book, I can't remember what it's called, either the third book or the last book. No, I think it's the last book, because I think this is how it ends. But in the last book, it's kind of told through Lena's perspective as well, because something happens to Ethan. So it goes back and forth between Ethan's perspective, where he is, and Lena's perspective. But I like that it was told from Ethan's perspective. And I also like that it's kind of the southern setting. As someone who kind of has ties to the South, my grandfather was a southern gentleman from South Carolina. And they currently, my grandmother, sadly he passed away, live in South Carolina still. So I have a little southern in my blood, and I now presently live in North Carolina. Which, even though it's called North Carolina, it's still kind of the South. At least compared to Maryland, where I used to live. But I liked it. I know I really enjoyed that series, and I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure. I don't know, maybe it's not a guilty pleasure, but I enjoyed that one. And I thought it was so fun, and the thrill in the story about witches, and the whole Castor mythology is really cool, and you know, I know, I think it deserves more credit than it gets. But that's just me. Question number 5. The other side. A fandom that got to you and dragged you under. Okay, so at first I said a TV show fandom because I couldn't think of a book fandom. And that was Star Trek The Next Generation. Because I haven't watched the original Star Trek, and I haven't watched Deep Space Nine yet. I haven't watched the Spoof series, and I haven't watched the new one, Star Trek Discovery, which I guess you have to have that particular channel. But I mean, cable costs money anyway, so I don't know why everyone's freaking out. I mean, it's like, are you surprised? I mean, cable costs money generally. I mean, I'm sorry if you happen to hear about a channel that you don't have, a show being on a channel that you don't have. I mean, it sucks. Yes, I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, it's not really a surprise. I mean, but anyway, but yeah, I said, that one, because that was a series that my friend Terry, the one I go to conventions with, was trying to get me into. And I finally had decided, it comes on BBC America in the morning, so I started recording episodes, but it was kind of bad timing, but I did like it. I thought it was definitely really interesting. I liked the plot ideas. I liked all the episodes where, in the show, they have this thing called the holodeck, where it's kind of like live roleplay, almost. And, my favorite character, since now that I'm a fan of the show, Data, he is a big fan. He's an android, and he is he's fascinated by human behavior and stuff, and he's a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. So there are a handful of episodes that focus on his fascination with Sherlock Holmes, and I kind of started being interested in Sherlock Holmes as well, because Robert Downey Jr. played Sherlock Holmes in the latest movie made by Guy Ritchie that came out a couple years ago. So I've always been intrigued by Sherlock Holmes. And I kind of like those really intelligent, witty characters. I always kind of get crushes on those type of characters. And so I liked those episodes. And I liked any episode that involved the holodeck, because they got to do something that was completely different from the science fiction genre. They got to play around and be a fish out of water type character, which I love those kind of scenarios where a character is thrown into a different environment, different kind of world, and they have to adapt to it. That's why I love time travel plots so much, because you see this character from a different time in a different world exploring another time in another world and getting to know it and adapting to it. And sometimes most of the time they really struggle with adapting to it and end up looking really stupid or putting themselves in danger and whatnot. So what was the question? So yeah, I kind of liked, and then my friend, and so I kind of stopped recording because I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool, I like some of the episodes, but I'm just not into it right now. And my friend Terry was still trying to kind of get me into it, and then convention time came, and 2 of the actors were going to be at this convention. So, and I was familiar with the actors from after Star Trek. They did other stuff after the Next Generation. So that's how I was familiar with them. So I was kind of interested in meeting these 2 actors as well. And I was kind of, because even if it's someone that's not like an A-lister or a big star that I'm obsessed with or anything, if I'm familiar with their other work, then I kind of get excited and feel like, oh, this is so cool. I get to meet these people. And so, and those people were LeVar Burton, who played Geordie LaForge. He is also the same guy who hosts Reading Rainbow. And then there was Brent Spiner, who plays my favorite character, Data, which I recognize him from Out to Sea. He was the cruise director in Out to Sea, which is a cute little movie about these older gentlemen. One of them's, they go on the cruise trip, and because they can't afford it, they are dance host, and then they both find love with these two women, and it's just all this little craziness, and they drive the cruise director crazy. He was kind of, he's kind of a jerk and very bossy. Typical character for Brent to play, very entertaining, very funny character who has a huge ego and is just very arrogant and thinks very highly of himself. And then, I knew him from Master of Disguise, which is kind of a stupid movie, but it's kind of silly and kind of stupid. He's the bad guy in that one. And then I know he's in one of those parody movies too. And he's in Dude, Where's My Car as a scientist. So he's had a lot of minor roles. And he was in the revival show of the musical 1776 that came out in the 90s, which is a play about the creation of the Declaration of Independence and trying to decide between should we get independence, or are we gonna, do we need to go back to England and plead for their forgiveness, the king's forgiveness, and let him take us back. And that's also why I'm now kind of even more interested in that time period, the American Revolution. But that's a whole other story. So, he played in the revival stage show. He was John Adams. And John Adams was played by William Daniels in the movie, who is the same guy who plays Mr. Feeney. Okay, that was not bad, actually. That was my awkward impression of Eric and the different ways he calls Principal Feeney's name. So anyway. So, yeah, I was familiar with him and LeVar Burton, so I went to this convention. I was kind of excited and I get to meet these people. I know their other work. And I was also kind of proud because I was familiar with him beyond Next Generation. So it was nice to me. I felt really proud that I was able to talk to him about something else. So I met him. I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with LeVar Burton. I went to his panel, and I was in the photo op because, at those conventions, two people can be in the same photo op. So I met him, and I met Brent, and he was so warm and so welcoming and so friendly and so appreciative of his fans. And like I said, I was very proud that I could talk to him something about other than Star Trek. And then, the first time ever, at his panel, I actually asked a question. I am normally so chicken about them, and I think about questions I could ask them, and then I'm like, no, that's a stupid question, that's not a good question, or no, maybe, I get that feeling of the bumbly inside of me, that giddiness, that feeling of, oh my god, I gotta do this, I gotta think of a good question, and I never do it. Until finally I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to come up with a question. I'm not going to second guess myself. I'm just going to do this because I am tired of embarrassing myself in front of my friend. So I did the brave thing. I went up there, and luckily we almost ran out of time. And unfortunately, Emma Caulfield from Buffy showed up at the panel, and I wanted to say something. I wanted to say, how's your money, to her. But she, Brent is the type of person who once he gets going, he won't shut up. He talks a lot and has great anecdotes and everything, and he's so funny, and it's just, I have a very mixed feeling. On the one hand, it's he really gives his fan attention, and you don't have to do anything because he'll keep the conversation going, and he has great stories, and you see, he's such an entertainer. It's funny, he's kind of a shy person as a human being, I think, the impression I got. But then at the same time, he loves to entertain, and he loves to tell stories and stuff. He just, the way I talked about with Terry is I feel like he likes to control the situation. As long as it's in his control, and he's running the thing, then he's quite happy. I mean, that's just the impression I got. I could be totally off, but so he I never got the chance to say that to Emma Caulfield. If you're a Buffy fan, you know what I mean by that question, why I want to say that to her. But, so I actually asked a question, and I was able to ask him something other than a Star Trek question. I mean, at first I was going to, but then Terry ended up doing that, she took the question that I thought about. So, yes, it was my question, but, so she ended up asking that, and she's like, well, you can ask him, because I really want to ask him something other than Next Generation, because I figure that's how everybody knows him. I mean, there are like a handful of people that can ask him about other things like Fresh Hell, which was in a webisode series, I think, where, it was kind of a parody of his own life. Like, he was an actor that did something so horrible that, like, no one likes him anymore. And it's about him trying to reestablish his career, but he keeps failing. And then he has to work with all these people, all these crazy eccentric people, just to get himself back out there. And it's kind of a sweet, funny show. It was really cute. I definitely recommend. You can watch the 2 seasons, because so far there's only 2 seasons. I don't know if he'll ever make any more. But I'll feel really dumb if I got to meet him again to ask him about it. And he's like, oh, actually, I did create more episodes, because, it's not like I'm going to go on the website on a regular basis. But anyway, so I asked him about his theater experiences. And I was just and then after that experience and meeting him and interacting with him and asking him a question, I just became obsessed with the show. Although I've recently taken a break from it, so really I can't say I'm obsessed anymore, but I still really enjoy it, and I definitely want to watch a few more episodes before I go out of town next week, because I can't bring the Netflix with me. I don't have, my iPad doesn't work anymore, so I can't bring Netflix when I go out of town. But yeah, so originally the point of that whole little thing was me talking about that was because originally I was gonna use the Next Generation as a show, as a fandom I was kind of thrust into on accident. So I'm just gonna say the world of Sarah J. Maas. I kind of stumbled. I'm trying to determine. I still can't remember if it was because of BookTube specifically, or did I just come across the book when I was in the bookstore. So I don't remember. I think it was BookTube. I think hearing people talk about the book, I just like, okay, I need to buy these books. So, and I just fell into the fandom, of Sarah J. Maas, and I have kind of a love-hate relationship with her now, because I'm one of the people who still loves Kale, even as I'm reading Queen of Shadows, I still am in love with Kale, and, just the things that she does, and lack of, she's not perfect, she does some things in her books that I'm not a big fan of, but I still love her, and I love the worlds that she creates, and the characters she creates, and now I'm just like every other person who loves, every other booktuber and book reader. I'm part of the fandom, and I have the coloring books for both her series, and, I constantly talk about it. I fell in love with Akamath, and I just been thrown into this fandom, and, like, I compare, being on Facebook and the world of fandoms as, like, falling down a rabbit hole. It's so crazy. People debate and argue all the time, and you constantly talk about, that's almost the only thing you talk about is whatever book, movie, TV show you're into. And it's craziness. Okay, after that long, elaborate answer, let me go ahead and get to question number 6. Never Enough, which is one of my favorite songs. A series that ended, but you want more of. And I said, where Where is it? The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I love this series, and I definitely want more of it. I'm definitely, at some point, I want to read the Wires and Nerve graphic novel. I'm not a graphic novel buyer, you know, so I'm definitely going to read but I want to get it at some point. I am currently rereading the series, and I am going to read Cress soon, and I actually might bring it with me when I go out of town. Which actually I'm bringing quite a bit of books when I go out of town, but I'm staying a little longer than normal. I'm visiting family, and I'm staying there a little longer than I normally do. But particularly lately, anyway. So I love the series. This is a sci-fi retelling of classic fairy tales. Like, this one is obviously about Cinderella, Cinder. Scarlet is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. Cress, my favorite of the series, is a Rapunzel retelling, and then Winter is a Snow White retelling. So it's sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, low science, not too much science fiction, because sometimes I can be very particular about science fiction. I don't read a lot of it. I'm more prone to watching it than reading about it. And plus, it's a retelling of classic fairy tales. So I am just addicted to the series, and I definitely want more of it. You know, I know that the Wires and Nerve is coming out, but I'm always constantly thinking about, like, what other fairy tales could Marissa Meyer cover could she, you know, beyond this world or in this world. Particularly, I would love to see what she could do in this world. But then again, maybe not, because they've stopped the bad guy, and now Cinder's running things, and I don't know what other bad guy they could come up with. But yes, Cinder. The Lunar Chronicles. This being the first book. And like I said, I'm going to read Wires and Nerve soon. Okay, this is me. That one is actually nominated for an Oscar, Academy Award. And if Evermore cannot be snubbed, since Evermore is snubbed, then that will be the one I'll be reading for. Evermore from Beauty and the Beast. That one got snubbed, sadly. A book that everyone doesn't like, but you love. Okay, so this kind of goes with the question number 4, and I actually put the same answer for it. And that is the Castor Chronicles. It was just very hard for me to come up with a book that a lot of people don't like, but I love. Or even reverse. Because I couldn't, you know, there's some, like, I'm not into Rick Riordan, or, and I have no interest in Rainbow Rowell, except for Fangirl. I kind of have an interest in Fangirl. But I can't really say those books because those are those authors' works, because I have not read any. Well, I did read one of the books from the Kane Chronicles, but that was so long ago. So I can't really say those. And there's other books I have no interest in that everybody loves, but again, it's more that I just don't have any interest. It's not that I've actually read them, I just have no interest. So I just, again, because I remember back when I was trying to, you know, decide if I wanted to continue with it or just donate it, that it got, you know, not everybody liked it. You know, people said the series got worse. They didn't like the main characters, but I still totally loved it and thought it was really good. And okay, so question number 8, Rewrite the Stars. It's another one of my favorite songs, along with A Million Dreams, which I love all the songs in this movie musical. So Rewrite the Stars, an OTP that needs to shut up and kiss already. Okay, now, to be fair, I might potentially only be thinking this about this couple because I kind of got spoiled and hinted that these two will probably end up together. But that is Magnus and Cleo from the Fallen Kingdoms. I'm showing you this third book because 1, I'm reading it currently, and 2, I think this is the book when it happens, because I think I did hear that they will end up together. And I kind of got spoiled that Cleo does, Cleo says that 4-letter word about Magnus. So I kind of got spoiled and was like, okay, when is it going to happen? How, what book do I need to read to get to that? But I don't want to rush it either. I'm going to take my time. So this is a book I'm actually going to bring with me when I go out of town as well. So I think I'm holding it up because I think this is when it will happen. When it will be hinted that, it will be made more obvious that these two are, that Cleo and Magnus are in love, or falling in love. But yes, they need to just happen already. They need to just kiss already. Or as the question says, just shut up and kiss, it's, what is it? Where is it? To shut up and kiss already. They just need to do that. They just need to shut up and just kiss. Okay, so the next question is Tightrope, another song I love, but like I said, I love all the songs in this musical. Tightrope, a book that you had no idea about, but took the risk. I had a hard time with this because most books that I had to go back to before BookTube to think about that. I could have potentially said Harry Potter because I didn't know anything about it, because it was kind of like when these things were, a friend of ours was buying a box for her copies of the books or something, and my mom just asked me, "Are you interested in this book, the first one?" And I said, "Yeah." So I read the summary, I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I bought it. So I could say that one because I didn't know much. But I usually, when I go into a bookstore, I'm not technically a cover by person. I mean, there have been times, but mostly I just read the description in the back or in the flap, the dust jacket flap. Because usually they have. Now, I know, of course, the summaries aren't always that accurate and that great, but it gives me an idea of the premise of the book. So I don't not necessarily know what a book is about or know anything, but I went on and said, let's say both these books. I picked Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I knew it was a famous romance. I didn't know much about it. I just knew it was a famous, epic, beautiful romance when I first decided to buy this book. And, I was like, it was a classic, so I felt like it would be a good challenge and I need to read it. And I just fell in love with this book. I fell in love with the story. I fell in love with the main character of Scarlet. I love the romance, And so that's the best I could do. But even then, I knew a little bit of something about this book. Okay, next question. Never Enough Reprise, a book that broke your heart. Okay, I was gonna say again. My answer was going to be a TV show because this show the writing just pissed me off after season 1, and that is Once Upon a Time. Season 2 was okay, but then halfway through season 2, it just started going south, and I have a very love-hate relationship with that show. Well, no, I shouldn't say love-hate because I no longer love the show, but because I still love my favorite characters and my favorite couple, despite how the authors have disrespected that couple and ruined those characters, in my opinion. And there are a lot of other people that agree with me. The quality is so poor in that show, and I always get so excited when a booktuber mentions that show in passing. I'm like, yes, finally someone that's sane, someone that's talking about the show and talks about how horrible it is, how it went so bad. But that was a TV show. I tried to stick with books. So instead of that answer, I said A Tale of Two Cities. Now, this is not because I didn't love the book. I love the book and the story. But it was just the ending that broke my heart. My favorite character, the protagonist, died at the end of the book. Spoiler alert. Sorry. This is an old book. This is a classic, so, but it just broke my heart. it was so sad that this character died. I mean, I kind of knew it was coming, but at the same time, I was hoping. Like, I'm the type of person when I watch a book, or read a book, or watch a movie or a TV show that I've seen before or read before, and I know what's gonna happen. I'm still like yelling at the screen. Like, I was watching, which by the way, this movie surprisingly makes me cry. It just got really bright. I was watching the new version of It, because I do have the miniseries, the 1999 miniseries, and that one makes me cry. And unfortunately, this morning it still looked like I had been crying, so my mom got, kind of called me out, and then I had to explain to her that it was because there was a sad part in the movie, and I kind of thought too much about it for a good while, but I was not crying all night. And I'm sure you guys can guess what scene I'm talking about that made me cry, if you've seen the movie. But why did I bring that up again? I can't remember. Dang it, I don't even know why I brought that up in the first place. Okay, so I was talking about A Tale of Two Cities. Oh yeah, I brought that up because the beginning scene where Georgie Denroth gets taken and eaten by the clown, I was yelling at the screen, like, kid, run away. Kid, don't do it. Run away. It's a stupid paper boat. Your brother can remake it. He won't kill you if you accidentally lose the paper boat. Who cares? Just run away. And even though I know he's going to be dumb, it's not going to change. He's not going to run away. And but like, that's how I felt reading this book. Even though I knew what was going to happen in A Tale of Two Cities, I was still hoping that things would turn out differently. Okay, so I need to hurry up because this video is getting way too long, and of course watch it not be able to upload, and then there'll be no point to what I'm saying right now. Okay, from now on, I just went ahead and say Once Upon a Time for that one, which is a book that you loved for hypes, but let you down. Like I said, it was great. The first season was great. It wasn't perfect, but the first season was good and was decent and very entertaining, and it had so much potential. But season 2 and onward was just, it lost that potential along the way. And the writers, I feel like they got too big and just ruined things. They just neglected they neglected things, and they showed favoritism, and there's way too much, and that would require a whole nother video. Okay, so the last question, I'm just gonna say, the Lunar Chronicles, The Greatest Showman finale, the book of the greatest ending. I said this, I couldn't think of an ending, so I went ahead and just said this one. I tried to come up with something different, but this was a great ending, the perfect way to end the series, and it was amazing. I was very happy with how this ended. Everything was wrapped up quite nicely, and all the characters, there were still casualties. It wasn't a Disney-fied ending, and it wrapped up everything up nicely, and left you still wondering what was going to happen next. Okay, so that was the Greatest Showman book tag. I will post a link to the original creator of this tag. It was a really fun tag, and I'm sorry, not the other tag was great and all, but I think I kind of like this one a little bit better. If you guys like this video, please subscribe, and if you aren't already, scratch that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Right? Thank you. Bye.